At the beginning of the movie, we see a couple, Mian and Nico, planning to illegally escape from their country. The country they lived in was engaged in a long-standing war with neighboring nations. Consequently, food shortages began to plague the nation, forcing the government to resort to killing the elderly, children, and even pregnant women. This horrific measure was implemented to alleviate the food scarcity. Due to this cruel policy, Mian and Nico lost their young daughter, and they are now desperate to flee their homeland and seek refuge in Ireland. Shortly after, their agent leads them to a container, packed alongside others, which is scheduled to travel to Ireland by ship. Mian is 9 months pregnant and could give birth at any moment. Their container is transported by truck, ultimately reaching the port, where its doors are abruptly opened, creating a frenzy of people rushing inside. In the chaos, Mian and Nico are separated. Nico is forced into a different container. Panic sets in for Mian, and she immediately calls Nico as soon as the container closes. Nico reassures her, urging her to be strong, promising to join her as soon as they reach the ship. His comforting words offer her some solace. Mian's container embarks on its journey towards the port from where the ship is set to depart. However, their truck encounters a checkpoint where the police conduct a thorough search. As an officer opens the container, he finds it empty. Unknown to him, a secret compartment concealed the passengers. The officer, however, is astute and suspects their presence. He threatens to shoot everyone if they don't reveal themselves. Fearful, a woman emerges from the compartment, but just before she does, Mian has climbed onto 2 large boxes, avoiding detection from the people below. The officer, upon seeing the compartment open, mercilessly guns down everyone present, irrespective of age. The police then haul the bodies from the container and dispose of them. Mian remains hidden atop the boxes. After the police leave and seal the container, Mian, still shaken, sits alone inside. Soon, the container is loaded onto the ship, and Mian's journey to Ireland begins. While confined within the container, she examines its contents, finding food supplies, a drill machine, and a phone. As night falls, Mian succumbs to exhaustion and falls asleep. She is jolted awake in the middle of the night as the container violently sways. Looking out through a hole in the container, she realizes their ship is caught in a raging storm. The tempest intensifies, ultimately capsizing the entire vessel. Containers tumble overboard one after another, and when Mian's container plunges into the water, she is violently thrown around. The impact causes her to hit her head, leaving her unconscious. Mian regains consciousness to find herself surrounded by scattered boxes, with water seeping into the container. Looking out through the hole, she sees nothing but the vast expanse of the ocean. Fear consumes her, and she frantically tries to contact Nico using her phone, but the screen is shattered beyond repair, rendering the phone unusable. Mian's gaze falls on the lower part of the container, where she spots 2 openings constantly leaking water. If Mian didn't act quickly, her container would sink. She frantically starts opening the boxes inside, finding plastic boxes, clothes, a television, earphone cables, and even bottles of alcohol. Then she finds a roll of tape and uses it to seal the 2 holes. Suddenly, she hears shouting from outside. She looks out and sees the container Nico was traveling in. Right before her eyes, the container submerges into the water. Mian desperately tries to contact Nico on another phone, but to no avail. Witnessing Nico's death, Mian is devastated, her grief overwhelming, leading her to contemplate suicide. However, she then remembers her unborn child and dismisses this thought. The following morning, Mian wakes up to find the container even more filled with water as the tape was not effective. This time, she uses rubber from the plastic boxes to plug the holes, successfully stopping the water from flooding the container. She manages to drain the water through another opening. A call comes from an unknown number, and it's Nico. He tells her that he wasn't on the ship with her container. This reassures Mian. She tells him about her situation, being stranded in a container in the middle of the ocean. Nico promises to save her. Right after ending the call, Mian starts experiencing labor pains. She's about to give birth. As if on cue, a violent storm hits the ocean, further destabilizing the container. The container violently shakes and begins to fill with water. It's in this chaotic environment that Mian gives birth to a baby girl, whom she names Nova. Mian manages to cope with the pain and care for her newborn all alone. The next morning, Nova is crying incessantly, and Mian is running out of food. She gets an idea. She'll use the drill to make a hole in the container's roof, allowing them to escape. She starts drilling, but the machine fails halfway through. She then tries to cut the container with a small knife. The thin blade struggles to cut through the thick metal, leaving blisters on her hands. After a lot of effort, Mi-an finally manages to cut a hole in the container. Stepping out into the open air, she feels an intense sense of relief, experiencing the warmth of the sun for the first time in days. She lifts her daughter up to the top of the container. Mi-an spots fish in the ocean and tries to catch them. She fails initially. A plane flies overhead. She breaks the television screen and uses it to signal the plane. During this attempt, her thigh gets injured by the sharp edge of the metal. She feels excruciating pain. Using alcohol to clean the wound and then stitches it herself. The pain is unbearable, but she perseveres. Mi-an has another idea. She'll use the earphone cables to make a fishing net. She succeeds and catches fish, ensuring her survival. Rainwater is collected for drinking and Nova is fed with milk. Days pass, but Mi-an's despair grows. She wonders how much longer this can continue. One night, Nico calls her. He tells her, "I was on a ship trying to reach you." Nico confesses that the police caught him and he was shot while trying to escape. He tells Mi-an that he's losing too much blood and probably won't survive. Before dying, he asks Mi-an to let Nova speak to him. Mi-an complies, and the two have a brief conversation. Mi-an is completely devastated. She doesn't know what to do, how to go on. However, she knows she has to survive for her daughter, Nova. She wants to see her child safe. The next morning, Mi-an starts building a small boat out of plastic boxes to ensure Nova's safety in case of any emergency. While building the boat, night falls. Suddenly, water starts pouring into the container. Mi-an rushes back into the container to collect her essentials. Her foot gets trapped, and soon after, the container begins to sink. Due to the waves, the container drifts away from Nova's boat. Mi-an manages to free herself from the sinking container and swims towards Nova, relieved to see her daughter safe. They continue to drift on the small boat until daybreak. Mi-an's condition deteriorates, and she realizes she can't survive much longer. Then, some fishermen passing by spot the tiny boat. They rescue Nova and her mother from the vast ocean. When Mi-an regains consciousness, her first instinct is to check on her daughter. She finds that they have reached Ireland, as the fishermen are Irish. After a grueling month battling against the odds, Mi-an has not only saved her own life but also her daughter's. And with this, the movie ends. So, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Take care.